Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is our lunch and learn, and I think it's dinner time now. So dinner and learn. And we just want to welcome everybody to this. And we are really here to support Christine right now and Amy. And thank you, Amy, for being the host. I would like to introduce to you our guest speaker. Chip is somebody that I've gotten to know over the last 4 or 5 months, and I'm always in awe of his knowledge. And he is somebody that I would say, first of all, he's a leader in Avini, and he is an expert, guys, in knowing how our bodies work or don't work, and how our bodies work with Avini products. And so if you have some questions toward the end that you'd like to ask him, I am sure he would be very willing to answer those for you. And we look forward to moving forward in this. Okay, so Chip, come join us.
Okay. Well, my name is Chip Littlejohn. I am with the Avini Health Company. I'm speaking to you from Scottsbluff, Nebraska today, which is my home. I live way out on the west end of Nebraska, almost to fall off into Wyoming. And have had an interesting life so far. If I was going to boil it all down, I'd say I'm fascinated with living things and what makes us more alive. And so that's the attraction to Avini. And there's been huge discoveries, and some of the most useful ones of a lifetime are accumulated here as a product line that we can represent. And so this is actually what I get to do for my work, which is pretty cool. Like many of you, I suppose I've ridden the planet for quite a few laps, had some interesting experiences in my life. Carol and I were talking before the call, and she does work in Africa, and some of the things I asked, well, she works with entrepreneurs there, and often they're trying to feed themselves. And some of the things they worked with were, all sorts of animal life, and so those things are interesting to me. And I was revealing to her that when I came home from Special Forces, the first thing I did when I got back to Nebraska was to run a 250,000 head livestock operation by myself. And you ask, how can you do that? And I tell people, well, it was rainbows, brooks, and browns, and they think I was on drugs. But no, those are actually breeds of trout. So those are species of trout. And I'm going to start this maybe in a kind of a different way. And I do want to get to meet you guys, but I want to get you thinking. I just want to get you thinking to start out with. When I got to that trout farm, and it happened to be one of my Air Force roommates, he was a C-130 pilot, by the way, delivered lots of grain to Chad and Mali. These were already starving African nations, and Carol works with starving African nations. So we were roommates for almost a year before I ever met him, because I was in schools learning how to survive, and he was out in the world, trying to keep people alive by delivering grain to them and that sort of thing. But he was a trout farmer, had a master's degree in raising trout. So did his brother. His other brother had a doctor of veterinary medicine and was also raising trout. His dad had started a trout farm in a little spring, and now it's surrounded by Boulder, Colorado. You drive into the driveway, you'd think you're in a city, and you turn in, and all of a sudden you're in this trout farm with an old barn right in the middle of Boulder, Colorado. The city grew up around them. But what I want you to think about, when I got there, I'm the only person there. I mean, literally the only person. I would maybe once a month see a guy come and deliver propane, and that was my entire social life. And so literally by myself with the dogs and the fish, which gives you some time to contemplate the universe. And I'd feed these fish out of brown paper bags, pellets made for the fish. The water was coming out of the side of a sandhill, dry above it, and all of a sudden, here's this spring comes right out of the side of the hill. And the first thing we put up was the hatchery. So we hatched the eggs up on top, and then the trout would get bigger and bigger and bigger as they moved down and got into the longer and larger ponds. But what would happen because we crowded them together. And I think crowding is an issue in humans as well. It changes our behavior. We're about to be crowded anymore, so we need to learn how to deal with such things. But they scoured the bottoms of their ponds clear down to bare sand. And all they had was what came out of those brown bags that I fed them. And so I thought, well, I kind of need to know what the product is. And we were actually raising them. They were stocked into places where they were going to be for sport fishing, you know, and catch and release places, mostly in Colorado is where they were going. But I thought, well, I'm going to, you know, see what these fish are like. And I went down and got one of the big ones out, fired up the grill, cleaned him up and put him on the grill. And when I went to eat it, I was kind of disappointed because the flesh was bright white. I thought, well, that's okay. But it was mushy and tasteless. I thought, that's kind of weird. What's the deal here? So the next time, about a week later, I thought, well, I'm going to try moving 1 inch further downstream after the water all comes back together. And the fish are in the wild. They're not crowded. I'd reach down in with my hand and pull out this thick green stuff, and it's just thriving with bugs and snails and freshwater shrimp and all that kind of stuff. And I caught one of the big trout out of there, and I thought, wow, he's beautiful. He's kind of like all the same colors, but they're darker and brighter at the same time. And got him all cleaned up, put him on the grill, and opened it up to eat it. And I thought, wow, this is completely different. The flesh was pink and firm and tasty. And I have to tell you, you know, like I say, I'm out there contemplating the universe all by myself. I looked at that and my thought was, oh my gosh, that's happening to us. Mm. We can be made out of the white, mushy, soft stuff, or we can be made of the bright, pink, tasty stuff, the strong stuff, the colorful stuff. And I really believe that's part of what we're doing here. We're when you learn about what you're learning tonight, I believe that we are walking, talking biochemical reactions. And the cleaner those run, the brighter we burn. Everything starts working right. Every single metabolic process. And every tissue is constantly replacing itself, right? I mean, we constantly replace ourselves. But if we don't do it frequently enough or well enough, we start running on what are called senescent cells. Well, senescent means just old age, right? Or worn out cells that aren't getting replaced and we have to keep using them because that's all we've got. You can't replace them yet. You're not replacing them quickly enough. So I believe that our ability to replace ourselves more frequently, more accurately, and to run more brightly is achieved. Really, one of the big ideas, and I'm going to start with the biggest idea, and then I want to take a walk around you guys, but I want you to have an idea what you're getting into here before you reveal to me who you are. What I thought was the first thing that I saw that this biochemist Rick Deitch was doing was completely different than anything I'd seen before. You know, when I went to Special Forces, I thought I've got to be better than the best guy in the other army. And so I started searching for, you know, what makes you stronger, what makes you more better performance, and those kind of things. And so I was fascinated with that. And I found a lot of building blocks of good health. I bet you many of you are smart about health and you've discovered a lot of building blocks of good health. And within the first couple of moments of being exposed to this, I saw something that was completely different. This guy's entire focus with his lead product was to remove the stumbling blocks that kept the building blocks from fitting together right. And I thought, oh, that's so different. But if you do that one thing, then everything starts to go right. Nothing that any of you brought in with you tonight, you know, your modality, your favorite thing, your skill, your favorite product. If you're a healthcare practitioner, what you turn to help people, none of those things are suddenly of less value. They're suddenly of their full value, as they should have been, because you're pulling the stumbling blocks out of the way. A simple way of maybe understanding it is if you were building a brick wall and the construction truck came and it unloaded a big pile of pallets full of bricks. That's what you're going to make the wall out of. You had bags with the mortar, but they also gave you 5 gunny sacks full of golf balls. And you were required to use the golf balls in the brick wall. So essentially, they were the stumbling blocks. And so that's what the environmental toxins do to us. They're the golf balls in the brick wall that take all the strength away so that it can't fit together right, it can't work right. It maybe from a distance still looks like a brick wall, just like the trout looked like a trout. But when you got down to it, it was greatly impaired, running on senescent or aging. Aging is nothing but an accumulation of damage. So we're watching to see if we can find ways to avoid the damage. And we want to do it in such a way that it's selective so that we don't accidentally harm ourselves as we're seeking to help ourselves. I really love where this comes from. So our biochemist is Rick Deitch. He's trained at the Duke Cancer Research Institute. There, he was a computer-assisted drug designer, and his job was to work with 2 Nobel Prize winners in cancer research, Monroe Wall with Taxol and camptothecin, and Gertrude Elion, who was specifically working with Rick on finding ways so that camptothecin didn't hurt you as much. Rick always said, you give me a lab animal with a tumor, I can cure it every time perfectly with camptothecin. But when I put it into human trials, it tried to kill the people. Because we have a protein circulating human albumin that they don't. And it sticks to it, plugs up the kidneys, no filters, doesn't take too long and you're in big trouble. Very similar to the kind of trouble you get just living in a dirty world. So he was then a little bit frustrated because his job was defined as finding ways so those drugs didn't hurt you as bad. By the way, that same program came up with the anti-rejection drugs used for every person who receives an organ transplant to this day. So this is the kind of smart that you're coming from here. This is attractive to very bright people. It's made of very bright people. We are literally today moving into a brand new state-of-the-art facility in Boca Raton, Florida, moving from plantation, and everything is getting upgrades right now. We're all meeting in Texas, in Dallas. Everybody knows what a blue zone is, right? A blue zone is where people live longer. Well, what if you had your own personal blue zone you could carry around with you? I think that's what Avini is. And so my little deal, we've got the House of Blues all to ourselves, 19th, 20th, 21st of October. And we're going down there to get together with each other and meet the biochemists and meet the other people like us that are also interested in this kind of thing. And to learn how to create our own blue zones so that we can, be one of the ones that are selected to live longer. So that's kind of a quick intro. So he's frustrated, though, has to hurt people to help them. Gets married, has kids, needs money, jumps out of his PhD program, gets picked up by Rexall. Rexall is a huge retail drug chain, but they start with their natural products, their healthy products. All of a sudden, they're looking for people to formulate those products, pick him up to assist the big guy. Within a year, he is the lead product formulator because he has a gift for this. Now we have in Avini his favorites of a lifetime. Things that help people to help them, that don't risk something to help you, don't hurt you to help you. That's what you probably see on the counters in front of you. That's what's attracting the people that are here today. So that's a quick intro. May I please learn just a little bit about you guys? If you'd go around the room and just, hi, I'm so and so, and maybe why are you here? What brought you? What attracted you? If it's a problem or some wonderful thing that's happened to you, either way, if you would just say something about it, that would be awesome.
Sure. It's Amy, and there are a couple people that have to leave, but they can't see us. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. There's 10 of us here in the room. So I'll just quickly start with myself, and then anyone else that wants to join us. I started Avini about 6 months ago, and thank God I'm healthy. I'm a healthy person overall. I've been in health and wellness for 10 years. Started with the essential oils, but my biggest change is more energy. And I'm grateful for that because I have an 11-year-old at home, and he's full of energy and he keeps me going.
He's like 5'11".
Yeah, he's like 5 11-year-olds. And I was really like getting like mad at him. I'm like, no, stop. No, like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Go to bed, whatever. And now it's like, there's been a shift in my life. And I'm so grateful for the energy that I have. And then the other thing is just to see other people benefit from this as well. My friend's daughter got off dialysis in 11 days, and their doctor said she'd be on it for life. So after 11 days of using this, and there's story after story after story, but I don't want to, I want each of you to say, if you would like, there are a couple of people that have to leave early. So if you want to start, just introduce yourself and say whatever is on why you're here, or, whatever you'd like. Thanks.
Okay, I'm Cindy. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Cindy.
So my grandson is 4, and he's been diagnosed with autism.
Mhm.
I'm always looking, what can I do? What can I do? So with the cells, if this can rejuvenate anything, help out in any kind of way, I'm in.
I'm so glad you're here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we even leave you, Cindy, the answer is absolutely one of the easiest, most duplicable. I mean, you can pretty much count on it. So you're in the right place at the right time. I've worked
Thank you
with
so
thousands of
much.
those kids.
I've
Thousands of
been
those.
praying all the time. I thought you were a godsend,
Oh,
actually.
thank you.
You prayed yourself in here, and strangely enough, the image that comes in from your location, we were trying to fix it before the meeting. You probably saw us, and
Yes.
it was almost like a heavenly light. And I thought, oh Lord, you're calling me home. And no, it was just that the camera was messed up. But so I get you. But anyway, you should be very, very optimistic and expect wonderful things. It doesn't take very much, and it doesn't take very long to start changing. I'm going to want to know more about him, but let's go ahead and go through the rest of the people first.
Okay.
I'm Rebecca. I'm here because I absolutely believe that we can control our health and have better health, and that, the life expectancy is not even close to what it could be. Just the other day, I read in the local obituary that a woman who lived to be 108 years old. And about a week before that, there was a woman who lived to be 107. And these are just local people. They're not in the Guinness Book of World Records or anything like that. And
maybe we got a new blue zone here.
right.
I was thinking the same thing.
And I just firmly believe in, as you said, regenerating the cells and cleansing and regenerating, and the body is vital and can remain that way far longer than we believe in the mainstream.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you, Rebecca.
I guess I go next.
Okay.
See you. My name is Jackie. I also have a child who's 15 years old. Amy knows him. He's on the spectrum. On paper, he is considered nonverbal, and he has seizure disorder. So we just started a product on him and everything. So we seen slight improvement in his speech. We seen slight improvement that he's asking for little things more. So we just started.
Okay.
So
Great.
yeah, looking forward.
Great.
Yeah.
may I please ask how long?
How, 2 months?
How you say you just started? How long ago did you start?
2 months. It's been 2 months.
But just about 5 to 10 drops in the morning and about 5 to 10
Yes.
drops at night. And he's very tall. He's
Oh,
6.
yes, he's 6'9". My son is 6'9", and he takes seizure medication. So anytime we have tried a clean diet, it takes a couple months before we see any changes. So I'm hoping it'll take a couple more months before we can actually see the improvement. But I have seen something which was within 2 weeks that he started taking the drops. I noticed that we took him to the grocery store and he asked for a receipt. We went and bought some chips and he said, need receipt, please. And I just went in tears, but I had to turn my face because the doctor usually, his developmental doctor said, do not show too much emotions because then he shuts down. So I called Amy immediately and I said, listen, it's only been 2 weeks, but there was something that never happened. He actually told the person at the cashier, I need receipt, he said. So to me, that was like a big improvement, the fact that he asked for a receipt and everything. So I was like, oh, wow. So it's little things like that. And most people would say it's no big deal. It is for me because here's a child that doesn't really talk much. And the fact that he acknowledged and knows like, hey, I need a receipt. That's a big,
Yes, it is.
yes,
Can I share with him about
Sure.
the study that he's in?
yes.
Okay, well, you can, Chip, he's in a study until he's 18. Jackie, do you mind sharing what study and with who in the city?
He's with Mount Fury Hospital in the city. They're doing a study on him because they don't understand what causes him to have the seizures and the fact that he can comprehend. He just cannot speak very well and very clear. So they're still doing the study on him. So he's
It's-
one of those.
Yeah, it's an ongoing study, Chip, at Montefiore until he's 18, correct?
Yes.
Until he's 18. So he does go in twice a year for blood work.
Mhm.
So just wanted to let you know that. Are you
Okay.
there, Chip? Okay.
No, I'm writing, sorry.
Okay.
I was going to be disappointed if it was 2 months and nothing had happened, but when you start, let me just ask you this for a second, Jackie, while we're going by you. When you have a child come to your home, whether it's, no matter how they get there, you begin to wonder who they are. And you sort of wait for them to be able to, do any little thing or hopefully talk and tell you. When one of his first things was to be attentive to that receipt. What kind of character traits did that? I mean, you had to extrapolate from that. Wasn't it interesting to get a little bit of a window into who he is? What did you think about that?
I was astonished and I had tears rolling because it was the first time that he actually said and understood we're at a grocery store and he was just purchasing some chips or something. And I can't remember right now. I think we were at Quick Check or something. And he asked the cashier for a receipt, which to me, that's a big thing because usually he doesn't pay attention to his surrounding, to anything that goes on.
Mm.
So the fact that he actually realized like, hey, I need a receipt, like I just gave you, because usually if he's buying something, I usually give him the money. I'm like, you give it to the cashier. And the fact that he asked for a receipt, to me, that was a big thing. I'm like, wow, I haven't seen this in years, and he's 15. So to me, that's a big one. So I had to hold my emotions, turn to the side for a second, and I just told the register, just anything, like give him any receipt, just.
So he was interested in the structure, the numbers, and the process, and she skipped a step in the process, and he noticed.
Yes.
That's pretty intelligent.
Mhm.
Wow.
Pretty cool. Okay, I'm gonna just real quickly, because we got a couple of these stories that are unfolding right in front of you. Oftentimes, probably the most common couple of things that I hear from the kids, oftentimes the very first thing they'll say is it'll be, Mom or Dad, I love you. And oftentimes not far behind that, because what are they being trained on over and over and over again? Communication and symbols, and how do you make sounds, and what a lot of times those kids will say or sing the ABCs. They'll just all of a sudden do the whole thing. And it's like there was a block. So you know that he was observing a lot, being aware of things, and something just cleared to where he could move ahead in a way that he hadn't before. So and that'll continue. It's very, very common story. It's dependable, it's reproducible. What do you want when you're doing research? You want to be able to do it and say, okay, that happened. And then you want to turn around, do it again, and it happens again just like it did before. And so I certainly expect, even more from Jackie and her 18-year-old son, and
15.
Certainly.
He's 15 and he'll be under that Montefiore study until he turns into 18.
Okay, 15 to 18. And Cindy, I hope you're one person away listening to this, and your optimism and expectations are soaring, and they should be. Okay.
Cindy?
That's Sydney's grandson, age 4, correct? Did I get the right name?
Yes.
Okay. Next person, please.
Anybody else? Want to share? No, I think anybody else want to share or introduce them, why they're here or what they want to learn? Okay.
I'll introduce my. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, my name is Marianne, and Amy had told me about the product. I have been dealing with a lot of health issues for many years. I was one of the first 20 people in New York to get COVID when it first came out. Was in the hospital for months. Was diagnosed with mold. Had a reaction to the vaccine. Ended up with heart surgery. So there's just been a whole myriad of things that have been going on. Had tested. I have a neuropathy. Has come from it. There's just a bunch of things that have been going on with me. Have been to the doctors back and forth, and they always tell me that everything is fine. You're fine. Your blood work is fine. You're really healthy. But you know what? I'm not. I don't feel healthy. And so Amy knows me that I will just keep trying whatever I can do to be my own health advocate and to see, if I can try and make myself feel better. So I have a lot of hope for the product. One of the things I was diagnosed with, I had said with the mold, but then they did this toxicity screen on me, and out of a scale from 1 to 50, I came up at 160. So I know that there's stuff that's been going on, and I'm just trying to do whatever I can in my power to get healthy again. We've been on the product for probably about a month now, and just waiting to see. I know when I spoke with Doug, he said to me, I have to give it a couple of months, and and so we're hopeful. We're hopeful that it's going to work, because I know a lot of people that would benefit from this.
Well, that's awesome. And just to make sure, Marianne, so far it's been kind of uneventful for you, nothing noticeable in a full month?
Not really. The only thing that I can say is I always have a very, very strong taste of metal in my mouth, like I'm chewing on pencils, like pencil tops all the time. And so I would always suck on Lifesavers because it makes me crazy to have this metal taste. And I notice I'm not really sucking on that many Lifesavers anymore. Like I'm noticing a little bit of the taste in my mouth has gone away, but that's really about it right now. But I know that, Doug said that there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and it'll take a while. So, we're in it for the long haul to get better.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for introducing yourself. And I'm gonna play with the word that you said. The doctors kept telling you were fine. I was working, and I want to tell you guys, if the next person in the line told me they were preparing for the Olympics next summer, we'd do the very same things. Deep cleaning is always right. This is nothing more than hygiene, nothing more than being able to take a shower on the inside and wash away things you couldn't get at before. That's one of the main concepts here, is to be able to just get clean inside, and then everything starts working right. But I was working with the guy who won the gold medal in the 400-meter race at the Atlanta Olympics. And he was, obviously quite a physical specimen. And I was telling him that I might know some cool things that would be helpful. And he said, I'm fine. And of course, he thought he was ending the conversation. And so my thought back to you, when the doctor says, Mary Ann, you're fine. Okay, well, apparently there's something better than fine then. Because I'm looking for something better than fine. And when he said that, I said, okay, what's better than fine? He said, well, what do you mean? And I asked this guy, I said, has the fastest 400 that will ever be run already been run? He said, well, no. I said, okay, so you're so confident that somebody's going to get faster. Where's that going to come from? And he thought about it for a minute, and he thought, well, probably innovation and breakthroughs, and maybe nutritional things, training, mindset. I said, no, that's what you and I are working on together. That's what we're doing here together. And certainly tonight, gathered together here for, I guess it's not lunch and learn if it's in the evening, but it's kind of neat to have you guys together like this. And I would encourage you, some of the things that maybe that you've had occur to in your life, you're looking for an undo button, Mary Ann. And I believe that this product line has the ability to bring an undo button into your life, and then go up from there to what's better than fine. So next, is there anybody else who wants to say who they are or anything?
I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're good.
All right.
Yep.
Well, so along the way, I kind of gave you a little background of where we are, where we come from, what we have in our hands. We've got some other major breakthroughs that I like as well. We've talked about Avini Cell Defender, which is the one that causes you, I always tell people, when you take it, the very next time you pee, you're peeing poison. But it works a lot like dialysis. I recall that we were talking about an 11-year-old girl at the beginning when Amy was speaking. Oh, I'm sorry. That 11-year-old girl that got off in 11 days? No,
11 days, but she's 27. But the doctor
Okay,
said she'd be on it for life. She got off in 11 days after using Cell Defender. Of someone I know her daughter. I met
like
her daughter.
1 in 30,000 people after they've been on dialysis for a while are able to get off. It's so unusual without a transplant. And so to achieve that in 11 days, how could that possibly be explained? And I think about that a lot, kind of something I'm real familiar with. And essentially, she still had some filtering capacity left. And what happened when she started using the products is that some of the things that were so difficult to filter became very easy to filter. So what could happen in 11 days? Essentially, the filtering capacity that she had left was suddenly enough to make a big difference. She didn't need to deal with so many things that were impossible. And so the kidney, even a hurt kidney, became one that was good enough to deal with the metabolic waste of the day, which is really what the kidneys are there for. Mm. So I want you guys to learn a little something about dialysis while we're together. When someone goes in and gets hooked up to a dialysis machine, their blood leaves, goes over into the machine, and in a few minutes it comes back clean. Why do they sit there another 3.5 or 4 hours? You ever thought about that? Even people who are on dialysis, I ask that question. And oftentimes, well, they don't know. They say, well, to be monitored, to make sure I'm okay, in case they have to replace something, stuff like that. They know that kind of stuff. But why do you sit there another 3.5 or 4 hours? It's because the blood comes back clean, but the tissues are still dirty. Now you've created a concentration gradient so that more of the waste can be given to the blood and go over and get cleaned again. So you go clean, dirty, clean, dirty, clean, dirty, clean, dirty, like that over and over again. Same thing happens every time your blood takes a lap through your body, and it goes through the kidneys. Clean, dirty, clean, dirty, clean, dirty, goes through your lungs, gets oxygen, drops off carbon dioxide. So we rely on movement of these things, on flow. We look like we're a solid object, but we're not. We're hollow. There's all kinds of things going on inside of us. We are literally a walking, talking biochemical reaction that requires things to happen in the right sequence. And the more efficiently they happen, the cleaner we are, the better we work. And essentially the product, the Cell Defender, works the same way. Each time you take it, it passes the toxins that have built up in your body fluids into the toilet the next time you, and now, once again, the tissues are still dirty. You take it again, does it again. And it's very gradual. We're talking about fighting an accumulation of a lifetime, and we're removing probably parts per billion of the poison, which doesn't sound like much until you realize that if it were parts per million of poison that were in you, you'd probably be dead because they're that poisonous. So I hope that helps you to kind of get an image in your mind of how important this is and how it works. It's gradually, gradually, gradually done. And that selectivity to take away the toxic metals and leave behind the biologically active metals. To be able to deal with a cell that's made a mistake that'll steal it, thinking it's food, but never enter a healthy cell. To use the Avini Nano Silver and be able to kill the bacteria that are harmful to you, that cause infections, and not harm your microbiome. To take Avini plus relief and take a message coming down a nerve that would be perceived as misery because it is such a wild message, almost like you're failing a lie detector test when it goes through the synapse, when it goes through the chemical switch, and be able, while it's in that chemical switch, to only allow the messages that are operational or perception to go through, because now we're pulsing the message and they go through the pulse. But the big one, it does go through, you still know you hurt, but it's not nearly as bad because the points on the top and the bottom, the wild gyrations, the amplitude of the message are brought down to a tolerable level. That occurs, actually happens in the alpha-7 receptor on the receiving side of the synapse. It's the alpha-7 nicotinide acetylcholine receptor site. Crazy detail. That exact same receptor isn't just in every one of your synapse, it's also on the surface of every macrophage, which is the general of the immune cells in your body. It decides how much of an inflammatory response is going to happen. So that is also brought down to a sensible level. What Marianne described, what caught her, that put her in the hospital. One of the biggest problems with that is our immune systems had an angry response, an over response, correct? So we don't want no response, we want a proper response. And so that's what's provided by this product line. So once again, selective. The useful messages let through, even enhanced. I've had people that have had parts of their body that were numb for years, and all of a sudden they begin to get feeling again after using this, and they thought they were using it because they hurt. They didn't realize they might also be using it to get perception back that they wanted to have. So those are just some of the things, and it's fascinating. It's kind of like those two fish at the trout farm that make you think, okay, this is pretty cool. This is really useful. You know, I want to be made of the good stuff, not the bad stuff. I want to live for a long time, not for a short time. I want to have life extension, and not just life extension. I would like to have functionality extended and enhanced as well, all the way down the pipe. So those are some of the things. There's more. We work with what we call plus energy. I use it. Okay, so I'm a 1950 model human. I still coach water skiers. I'm just about ready to put the boat away for the year out here. But right before they go in the water, I give them Avini Plus Energy because it enhances the function of the brain in a matter of minutes. And so what you get is you can have better mental and physical acuity and agility within minutes. Both the Trim Science and the Plus Energy do that. Other things as well. But I like to use that for my athletes. And they tell me that everything that felt rushed before now slows down. And it's like you have access to all of your physical strength. So for me, I don't want to just sit in the boat and drive. I want to be able to get out and demonstrate to them. I want to show them how to do a barefoot start, or how to do a tumble turn, or how to get through a slalom course, or how to ride a wakeboard. And at 73 years old, this is my 64th year in a row water skiing. I don't know if there can't be too many people like that in the whole world. Went through a lot of things and still managed to get a ride every single year. So that's cool. And I bet there's something in your life. Maybe you're an aging athlete that doesn't want to give up something, or you're, a parent or a grandparent, and you want to be able to see the things that are coming. So that's pretty much what I got for you tonight. And thank you for participating. That's kind of what I wanted to just introduce you, get you excited and interested. And ultimately, at the ultimate thing, I'd like for you to say, oh, that's me. I'd like to do that. I'd like to know these cool things and be able to learn about them and tell people about them and have a stream of miracles in my hands, and have somebody whose child is stalled out in the development process, and be able to just give them an idea, just pass on an idea, and have it make all that difference for.
Oh, you muted. There you go.
I always tell people, if what I'm telling you is true, the phone would ring, wouldn't it? Well, it does. So I'm sorry, I had to put that one away.
Okay.
Anything? That's what I've got for you tonight. That's the basics. Any questions?
Yes, we do have a question.
My
Yes.
name is my name is Connie, and I own a health center. I work a lot with people on the spectrum, and then also this year I've been getting a lot of people who have all the problems with spike proteins from having COVID or getting the vaccine. And so when you said that the way you were talking about it, clearing out the alpha-7 receptor cells, so I guess this would be a good thing for helping people with the spike proteins, getting them out of their system.
Yeah, actually, it all kind of fits together. And thank you for speaking up, Connie. Interestingly enough, the spikes on the spike proteins, or the spike on the thing that you always saw the pictures on TV, that's actually kind of an appendage on that pathogen. And what it's able to do with that is to use it as a tool or a key to break into our cells. Those pathogens are so small and so simple that they can't have internal reproduction like we do. They have to cut up our DNA to make what they need. And so there's two mechanisms that play in the product line. One of them is the Avini Nano Silver. And almost everybody knows something about silver. They probably have some silver in their medicine chest and don't use it much unless they got a cut on the outside. And it's fine to use, colloidal silver, ionic silver on the outside of your body. But what we've done is to take it and make it so that a very small amount in a specific size and shape, namely 200 atoms held in a ball by a single coating of silver oxide tetrahedrons, is able to plug up and take away the keys and the tools from essentially disable the spikes, so that the spikes can't do what they need to cut into your cells and harm you. If they can't get into you to cut up your DNA, they can't reproduce and replicate and increase. And that is a gigantic mechanism, and it is absolutely incredible.
Is that more the nano silver or the cell defender? The nano?
That is nano. There is also a mechanism with cell defender, but the reason I tell you the nano first is that such an upstream mechanism literally doesn't let it do what it needs to do. With the cell defender and the zeolite is picking up and carrying away things that are positively charged, strongly positively charged and small are absorbed inside the cage. But on the outside of the cage, it'll pick up things that are positively charged, but too big to go in the cage. Well, one of the things it can pick up is after that kind of a pathogen has gone in and cut up your DNA, then it kills the cell that it's in. Now you're hurt. That's how it hurts the cell. And the contents of the cell spilled outwardly into the interstitial fluids. And that is where viral assembly occurs. And the viral particles find each other to make a complete virus partially by size, shape, and charge. A lot of this problems and the solutions are achieved by size, shape, and charge. And the cell defender will pick it up on the outside, pick up the viral particles that have a positive charge on the end on the outside, and carry them out of the area. And it's like a construction site that's missing, nails or screws or boards or drywall, missing something, and the virus begins to fail to have all the parts it needs to make a new copy. That is a downstream mechanism, but it also affects pH. Oftentimes, pathogens, parasites, and viruses, they need a very narrow range of pH that is not ideal for us. We'd like to be 7.4. Typically, they create and thrive in an acid pH. Sugar takes us into a bad acid pH. Avoiding sugar is as powerful as anything I've told you tonight. I hope that's encouraging, Connie. Anything else? I mean, you should find that you're greatly empowered having these things in your hands and in your business.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I hope that's encouraging. Did that make sense? Was it a good answer for what you asked?
Yeah, it's exactly the information I was hoping to hear.
Cool.
Right, yeah, thank you. That's really helpful.
It's awesome, and it makes such a difference. I think they said Doug Dickey was in your area. Before we actually brought the silver, he was instrumental in bringing silver along with us, and he got a hold of a source for it, and he'd have his friends in big trouble, dying in hospitals, and he'd pack it up and send it to them. This is actually before we even started Avini, and this was just him being him, just trying to rescue people with no company behind him. He just found a source. And so this exactly size and shape of silver is right. If it gets too big, it becomes colloidal, and then it can get stuck in you and cause argyria, which turns your skin blue. Or if it gets too small and it becomes ionic, then it's dangerous to your immune system, your immune cells. So we want it to be this size and shape. We want it to come in, do its job, and leave freely. So that movement is crucial. And anything else? I mean, I love these topics, and thank you, Connie, for being here. First of all, for being interested. Thank you all for being here and being interested. I hope you get gigantically rewarded in your lives. We're talking about features and benefits of a product line that I believe is futuristic. Anything else? Connie, you got another one. What else do you see a lot of that you'd like help with?
Yes. I just want to know about side effects. Is there any side effects? I think I read this was 100% natural. So was there any side effects, given to my 4-year-old grandson? I'd just like to know.
Yeah.
Is there any side effects?
It's wonderful from preconception through cremation. And so a lot of humans are having trouble, reproducing these days. Seems like the better parents you'd be, the less likely you are to procreate these days. And a lot of it is the male, the mobility and the numbers of sperm are dropped off. And it's quite common for us to find couples and they adopt this product line and are able to get pregnant within a few months. And so there really aren't ill effects of being cleaner. It's like, what are the ill effects of brushing your teeth or taking a shower? This really is nothing more than hygiene. It's the ability to take a shower on the inside and be able to do things, wash away both living and dead things with the product line that might be hurting you. And there just can't be something wrong with that. And certainly we're reestablishing the automatic decisions that should be made within your system. There's an old saying, no one of us is as smart as all of us. And I thought, okay, that's kind of cool. That's interesting. But when I started learning this product line, I added to that saying. It now says, no one of us is as smart as all of us. But even the best and brightest among us that become our medical professionals aren't as smart as the things that happen automatically in a healthy human system. And restoring that is the power that we tap into. And it's a tremendous power, tremendously useful.
Thank you.
Yep.
I do have a
So
question.
I probably should say, if you do feel weird at anything, it's using water to carry things out. So you need to be attentive to being hydrated. And there are rare instances like the kids that we're talking about here. Oftentimes we'll start low and move up slowly just because any change in their lives, they're really, really like consistency and repetition. So any little change can be maybe shocking to them, but typically they are so happy. If you can imagine, not very far down the line when the child tells you, I knew what to say, but I just couldn't form words, or I knew about the bathroom and the bathroom schedule, I just couldn't get there, or I knew to control my temper, but I didn't have access to my filters, or my emotions, would get out of control, and now they are within my control, and they'll actually tell you this, and your dream is, if you're a parent or a grandparent, your dream is to be able to communicate with them and have them tell you what they experience. It usually isn't very long until they know it's good for them and they want it. And so when you get out the bottle, they will come to you, or they'll even ask for it. So and this is pretty rare, I usually don't say much about it, but if somebody has something weird, and they come to me, I'll say, okay, well, first of all, it's very rare. Almost everybody feels better either right away or gradually. But if you didn't, consider this possibility. And it's always worth it to find a way to the other side, find your own way through. Do it faster, slower, take a break, whatever you got to do. But find your way through, because the benefits on the other side are worth it. But it's conceivable that someone will have withdrawal symptoms to the toxins, almost like they were quitting alcohol or drugs or something like that. It's not very common, but if it happens to me, that is a plausible explanation. And so you just find your way through.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that helps, and that's kind of my answer to there aren't any bad effects. It's all good effects. Sometimes you have to put a little effort in to get to the good effects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just wondering if I should be expecting some loose diarrhea constantly for like the first few days, foul smelling, just anything extra I need to prepare.
It is conceivable. It is conceivable, and we work with a colon therapist up in Bozeman, Montana. 30 years, over 1,000 patients that come. Many of them have come a lot of times, and she has a little clear place in the tube so she can see what's leaving after the enema, of course. And so they kind of knew what they were used to seeing. And then when they started in with this, they had to get their textbooks out again. And she said, the first thing I saw is I realized the heads were leaving, not just the body segments. And it was a little bit shocking. And it could be a little bit gross, now that you bring it up. And then later on, by the way, she's the speaker on the morning call tomorrow. I started seeing a whole nother group of parasites leaving, and they were encased in mucus, often a white mucus. And I looked that up, and I realized that my colon practice was suddenly not limited to the colon, because we were getting the parasites out of the duodenum as well, maybe even the liver flukes out of the liver. And we were starting to see all these things moving. And so her next statement was kind of shocking too. She said, interestingly enough, the phone at the colon practice started ringing off the wall because people knew something different and effective was happening. And my Avini phone in my pocket started ringing off the wall because people knew I had something of great value. So yeah, I will admit there can be some things that are shocking and gross when they're leaving you. And I have to say, I try to work on the languaging that goes with this a little bit, or the answers to questions. And people would tell me about, oh, something shocking, came out, literally crawled out of my skin, or fell in the toilet, something like. And I knew that was a good thing. But a couple of ladies called me one morning, and I know one was trying to protect the other, who had just had a shocking experience in the bathroom. And she was kind of, her friend, she was so startled, she was going to quit and didn't ever want to do this again. And it finally came to me. And I had an epiphany. I think I've got the answer to that question. And I just asked the woman, I said, I got to ask you one thing. Was there anything that left that you want back? And both of them started laughing, and I knew I had my answer. So that's what I use now. I mean, it didn't come to me the first time, didn't come to me the second time, but after it happened often enough, the answer finally came to me, and
Connie,
it came to me when those two were asking.
He answered it. Okay. All right, great. All right.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Are we
I have a
done for
question
tonight?
Chip. I have a quick question for Chip.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Chip, when you were
Hi,
talking about before in another session that we had, when you go
Yep.
to a doctor's office, similar to what you just alluded to about the last thing you said, what do you say to a doctor who wants to heal people, but he can't be involved?
Well, sometimes they really can't, because their profession requires them to do a standard of care that's well defined. And sometimes that's perfect and it works great. But sometimes it gets to be, and this is what we saw with my wife, now 11 years after being in big trouble and going to, well, I'll just tell you, she went to the local hospital here because something went wrong, and they actually took it out that day, and it had apparently been growing and twisted, and the twisting is what suddenly hurt. It was a female thing. And anyway, next weekend went to the Anschutz Cancer Center in Boulder, and then we felt some time because we wanted to do it naturally. We found out what Rick was doing and did everything he was doing as you would in Avini now. And she began to get better. And so we went on down to the Cancer Treatment Centers of America in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And they were a lot more open-minded, but they were still required, and all their income came from the standard of care. And so even though she was putting up these spectacular, wonderful numbers, one of the docs said, we have healthy 18-year-old women that would like to duplicate the numbers that you're putting up, after she'd been going back a couple of times and didn't want. She said, I will hold the chemo and radiation in reserve in case I have to use it. But we came to call it desperate care, because we thought you wouldn't do it if you weren't desperate. And she was improving so dramatically that we thought, so far from desperate, you couldn't imagine. And so we just wouldn't do it. I mean, she didn't want to do it. She'd seen other members of her family die so horribly under treatment that she wouldn't do it. And I'm thinking 11 years later, even if she had done that and been counted a success, what would she be like? Mm. There was a tree on the wall and it had leaves. And if you survived a year, you got a leaf of one color, 2 years, a leaf of another color, 5 years, a leaf of another color. And there wasn't many 5-year leaves up there. And I didn't see a 10-year leaf. And I thought, okay, what are we going to call a success here? What's a win? What's a win look like? And so we're looking for a win at a different level, I think. And sometimes we have to accept that they can't, but others can. You just heard Connie asking questions. She is a healthcare professional that can ask the question. And, you know, if somebody comes to her and they're doing better than anyone ever did before, she might say, you know, keep doing what you're doing. But I got a feeling Connie's one of the rare few that'll jump to the next question. And that is to say, okay, this is different. I haven't been seeing this. I love being able to tell you that you're doing great. I would like to have that result for all my patients. Could we do it together and get that result for all my patients? That to me is the ultimate question, Alan.
Yeah.
Good job as always, Chip. Thank you, sir.
I'll tell you one more little piece of that puzzle, and I probably shouldn't even say this, but the oncologist that was going to do the infusion for Marcy, we were that close to it. You know, they were going to schedule putting in the port, and they'd already said it's going to be carboplatin and Taxol were going to be the drugs. You know, our own biochemist created Taxol, so by then I'd been around him enough. I was starting to learn stuff from him, and I actually asked her. I said, you know, could you please tell me how the chemo and radiation you're recommending are selective so that they hurt the bad cells and not the healthy cells? Well, of course they don't. So there wasn't an answer to that. And okay, I understand that. You know, we have to, with this philosophy, risk something, or we have to hurt you to help you. Then there'll be a rebound period, and hopefully you'll come back, and it won't. But then I said, I just have one other question. Could you please tell me how these two chemotherapy drugs, Taxol and carboplatin, how do they kill? And she started in with this really, I don't know, strange explanation. And when she said it's kind of like whack-a-mole, I stopped her and I said, you know, I think I do know how they work, and I don't think what you told me is correct. And her response was the last thing I ever heard in that building. It was, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. I better look it up. Nobody ever asked me that. And I thought, oh my goodness. That was a moment. And I thought, I'm so glad to be learning what I'm learning. I hope you find it precious to be learning what you're learning tonight. And we are effective in that arena as well. If something's gone wrong, we're going to call your immune system back into play and ask it to look again and make the right decision this time.
Thanks to you and Marcy both, Chip.
Yeah, well, thank you, Alan. It's wonderful. And last night, Alan and I were on the phone with a friend of his, and all three of us had been on the railroad at one time. Me and my mom and my dad, and then it was Alan and his buddy and I. We were all railroaders. And his buddy was an engineer that hauled coal. I have a son that's a mine boss in the coal mines in Wyoming. Apparently, they got coal in Virginia too. Who knew that? You know, I guess I should have known that. But I probably have used the time. I don't want to steal your whole night. I want you to say, that's me. I can do that. That's fascinating. I love living things. I want to find ways to make people more alive. And I want to excuse you to your live presentation and you know, maybe politely excuse myself if that's okay at this point.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chip.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chip. Thank you so much.
I love your group. I really enjoy. Thank you for trusting me to be with you tonight. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you too, Carol. Thank you, Carol.
Amy, thank you. And I will be, this has been recorded, so I will make sure that I
Yes,
upload
please.
it into YouTube, and then I'll send the link out to Christine and she'll get it to you.
Perfect. We already got the other one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi.